first order of business is we just had a brief 5-minute executive session discussing real estate.
Again?
What's that?
Again, this is getting to be a habit, John.
All gotta get on the same page sometimes. It's the only time we see each other. First thing is to approve the board minutes or the minutes from the previous board meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from November 20, 2017 as submitted.
Second.
Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
There were a lot of minutes this week.
There's a lot of meeting.
A lot of minutes. The next is the Township Manager's Report.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, let me just grab this. Okay, lots of things in the month of November. The Township held our biannual emergency management drill for the Limerick Nuclear Generating Station. We had a federal review this year with the drill happening with multiple people, and everything went well. Jim Gooding, our emergency operations coordinator, conducted that review. The Township welcomes a new part-time police officer, Shane Woodrow, to the department. He's replacing Officer Sean Michinock, who had resigned from the post. He was sworn in on November 28th. The Phoenixville Regional Planning Committee is well underway with the Regional Comprehensive Plan update. They conducted workshop 8A, which was the second part of the Environmental Resources Review, an energy conservation plan. That the next meeting will be in January, and will focus on housing. The Township office will be closed later this month in observation of the Christmas holiday on December 25th and 26th. Right now, we're seeking, with the year winding down, interested parties for volunteer positions on our commissions and committees. As part of that process, if you have a resume or other background information and a letter of interest, we have something on the Township website, as well as you can just send that right into the Township, to the Township office email, and we'll review that for next year. The Township Board of Supervisors will conduct a road tour this month on December 11th at 1 p.m. to review locations for proposed maintenance for next year. As reported at the last meeting, our proposed budget is advertised and available for public inspection at this point, and slated for adoption on December 18th. Various projects are in the works. The French Creek Road Arch replacement, we're still in discussions with property owners concerning an easement that we need to commence this project. Otherwise, it's all ready to go, but it's something. We're looking for progress on that as soon as we can. Hollow Road Bridge, construction is underway. We had our change order that was reported on last month, and that work is going to be completed, and we're looking at January 10th as the project deadline. Buttonwood Lake Bridge, right now we have analyzed various options as reported for the replacement of that bridge. At this point, we need to coordinate another access route or some other means for the residents that live in that vicinity. So we're working through that and having some discussions to that end, so we can advance that project. As far as Fellowship Trail, construction is almost done. We need to progress with the ADA work at the intersection or crossing, and having the signage for the crossing installed, but that should really take care of that project, which is nice to see right before the winter.
What was the outcome on the asphalt?
We did not get cooperation from Upper Euclid. The change order was reduced from $7,000 to $6,000 based on some refinement with the contractor. But yes, we have to proceed. Regarding phase 2, we're still working through design on the St. Matthews portion. And as far as department reports, Building and Zoning Department, we have 13 permit applications processed. Things may be slowing down a little bit with the winter months coming forward. The Finance Department, budget versus actual for November, is being prepared now and reconciled with our bank accounts. Will be posted shortly. The Road Department, busy with general maintenance to equipment, vehicles, and township roads. We're going to get ready for the winter months here as far as our equipment and vehicles are concerned. The road crew cleaned inlets, ditched, filled in holes on several roads, and continue to fill stoning on Horseshoe Trail and on South Chester Springs Road. And our dirt and gravel projects are underway for the year. That's my, oh, no, I do have a few other things. There's so much going on. Rescheduled meetings, I just wanted to make sure I announced that sustainability workshop will be held this Thursday, the 7th, at 7:30 PM. And the Open Space Committee rescheduled their meeting for December to the 20th of December at 5 PM. And some progress on the St. Stephen's Green open space parcel. The township now has title to that property.
Whoa.
So thank you to the solicitor's office for that. Thank you, that's my report.
And the HRC is not meeting in December.
Okay, then they are not meeting in December. Okay, thank you for
Did you
that.
have a question on the road program, too?
Yeah, can I go on that road tour? That would be fun.
I don't know, have you ever met these two?
Wouldn't it be all?
I really wouldn't mind, but it's tough enough for us to get a consignment and
Yeah, but
It's also fit in the car.
But I know all the roads, you know. She'll drive.
then you don't have to go
I
on the road.
could, yeah, I want to hear what you're thinking. But I could drive.
Let us do it.
Okay, well, give us a good report of your travels.
What this is really for is she's allocated approximately $800,000 for 2018 road expense. We just want to be part of the decision on who, what, where, and when.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and I'd like to keep suggesting, save your money, don't do Davis Lane in 2018. Just in case you wondered. Those of us who travel it.
She will have in her report one day real soon what roads we're going to do. That would be appropriate.
And then you guys will vote on it publicly, and I'll
Don't
get to
have
say
vote
that
on
one more
but
time.
We must give our tactical nod.
So your tactical nod doesn't mean giving us information until it's
No,
all
we'll
said
give you the
and done.
information, it's not going to be secret.
Yeah, but after it's all said and done.
Yes.
Okay, how about calling on Army Corps of Engineer to get one of those portable pontoon bridges put down?
That's a great idea for if, in the case that we would have some drastic issue
I
with
did
the bridge.
I wrote a self-instructional module on setting up one of
Okay.
those once, but it was 1979, so I'm
Okay.
not sure I'm current on the equipment.
Yeah, we have some contacts for that type of outfit if we would need it.
Brian, you had a question?
Yeah, quick question. Do you happen to know what the accident scenario that they ran up at Limerick, that they ran during the drill?
There's various scenarios, they went through a few, so they usually do about 3. I don't know precisely.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure.
Any other questions for Erica? See, thank you, Erica.
Sure.
The next one on the list is the bills list. Tonight, the township bills list is $44,924.34. The reimbursable bills list is $30,369.65. And the subdivision utility plant bills list is $20,139.32. All three total $95,433.31.
I move that the board approve the bills list dated December 4, 2017, in the total amount of $95,433.31.
Second.
Any comments from the audience? Sarah?
Did you come up with a strategy to stop paying for the learning curve for new Cedarville engineer code enforcement people?
Yeah, we have to rewrite the zoning ordinance.
That's why they keep quitting?
What's that?
That's why we have turnover in that
No,
position?
but I mean,
is
that's how
because
we can
of-
lower the cost.
No, keeping staff in place means you don't, I'm talking about learning curve, Mike. You have to
Well, I
pay
know, but if
every
the
time you
zoning's
get a new
rewritten, then
person.
the learning curve would be a lot shorter.
Have
It'd
you
be
guys-
easier to understand. But no, that's not the,
I know, that was just a
solving.
wisecrack, but,
Right.
all right, so have you been working on codifying the ordinance? When will we see that? That should help Mike understand it better.
It's a
2019.
two-year process. Yeah.
2019? Is there going to be any time you would involve the planning commission in that process?
The codification does not change the
I
content.
understand,
Yeah,
but it's still, here you are doing a planning thing without engaging your planners.
It's not planning, it's more of just,
Bookkeeping.
yeah.
I
taking-
understand, I've seen codified
Right, okay.
ordinances on other sites. It's
Sure.
still something that you could inform the residents here, and particularly the planning commission, that you're doing it and what it's gonna mean to us and what schedule you're on.
We authorized that when, Erica?
Last year.
I know, I'm
It
still
might be
waiting
done.
to.
Could it be done? No.
We
It
will
can't be
get
done
a
any
draft.
faster, right?
We will get a draft in a few months.
I'm still waiting
Yeah.
for the planning commission to be informed that this is happening. And when you get a draft, is that just gonna be something you and the legal department do, or are you gonna let anybody else, and Tammy, of course, anybody else gonna help review the draft?
Well, we'd be glad to have input, but, you know, as I said, there's so much that happens on the front end so that really, you don't have to go manually in to pull every ordinance. It's looking at redundancies in the ordinance, fixing errors, anything that.
Oh, especially if you're fixing errors, wouldn't you want to alert the planning commission to the fact that there are errors in the current zoning ordinance?
Well, if I refer to errors, it's not so much a subject material, but maybe some of the classification for the numbering, or, that's what I'm
I know,
getting at. So that's
there's
all.
formatting and
Yeah.
sequencing, but if there are errors, that shouldn't be something that you and the lawyer know about and that you don't tell the planning commission.
If there are
I
substantive
don't
errors
think
that
there are.
require changes to the zoning ordinance, then we would run it by planning commission through
Yeah.
full ordinance.
All right, so there are
process.
changes that you just think aren't worth bothering us about.
It depends on whether or not they're substantive. If there's a typo, we're not gonna run it by planning commission, but if it's a substantive change, then obviously we go through the full ordinance process.
From now on, and I apologize, I'm being alerted that we gotta start using this microphone. I could hear you tonight, but frequently I can't hear you because of the crowd. But anybody else, Art, you are next. If you'd like to say something, please come up to the microphone.
You can use that one, I bet, right?
Is that one on? You can, we'll put that one, call that the Art Yule microphone.
Just one question, John. Police employee life disability insurance and road employee life disability insurance. The police is almost half of what the road crew is. Now, I'm sure we have at least a number of more police officers than we do in the road crew. Why the disparity in cost?
None of that. We might not.
No, I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I don't know, answer that.
But would it be the job?
Yeah,
You would think the police might.
Police would be more expensive because of the liability.
Right.
No, it's a factor of salary. So higher salary, higher rates. So if you've got a higher salary basis in the police department, you're gonna pay a higher rate.
That's fine.
But that's exactly the opposite of what he's saying.
Yeah, that's
The police are half of what the road crew, and with that thought in mind, the road crew makes more than the police department
Yeah,
does?
that's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'll look at the invoice, there's probably
All
a
right.
reason. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
any other questions on the bills list? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion, or we have the motion, I'll call for a vote. All those in
Wait,
favor?
wait.
Oh, you got one.
Damn.
Griffith Farmhouse, it's heating oil, $1,000, almost.
Say
Are
that
we
again.
heating the Griffith Farmhouse?
We are, just to protect the pipes and structures and,
Why don't we just drain it if it's unoccupied?
That's a good point.
wait, yeah, we
That's
were
a
doing
solid
it.
point.
I mean,
We
like,
should do
you
that.
can Drain it.
Yeah.
I mean, even though we pay for the oil, whoever gets it next would be able to have a full tank at least.
Yeah, right. Mhm. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right.
If you can, John, I'm going to bring my microphone. Maybe I'll just take it back to the chair with me.
Please don't.
Well, Art could come stand by me.
What's your question?
So, I have recently had the opportunity to tour with photographers a bunch of empty houses at Bryn Coed Farm. And some of them suffer from having been left cold and unheated in the winter. Without regard to the pipe question, it's the mildew that accumulates as the temperature changes outside without something to keep the environment drier. So I want to caution you about the possible degradation of value if you don't keep the
I
space.
wholeheartedly agree.
Thank you.
Very good.
I'll absorb here.
Not that there's much value.
It's good exercise.
I understand.
Any other questions on the bills list? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Next, we have a letter from Green Valleys.
This next to it for you, David.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I don't think you
No,
need
no.
to read the letter.
Read the
just
motion.
I move that the township contribute $1,500 to Green Valleys Association as provided for in the budget.
I'm going to assume Mike did that, so I would second it, so I'll second it. Any questions from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
No.
All those opposed? Bills went. Next item. Letter from Chester County Library.
I move the township contribute $500 to Henry the Village Library as provided in the budget.
I'll second that motion. Any comments from the audience? I have one. I thought they were asking for more than $500 this year.
In 2018, yeah.
So is this late for 17 or?
They're asking for the budget amount from 2017, $500.
So this
Oh,
is
no,
what we,
okay.
this is
We're
what we.
paying it late?
This is just when they request it.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we had done it
When
earlier.
you talk to them, I mean, $500 is nothing to us, it might be something to them, so if they need it paid earlier in the year, I don't think it
Sure.
matters to us.
Okay.
Does it? David? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Yes, Sarah.
I'll be right with you. Thank you for both of those community-spirited donations.
You're quite welcome. Next is a letter, a certified composter class. That sounds exciting.
Yes, yes, this is just informational. This is the 2018 Certified Master Composter classes. They're being offered at the Government Services Center on 610 West Town Road in Westchester. And they will take place in March of next year. We have this information available, we'll have it on our website and put it on social media. So it's just an opportunity to do this through the Chester County Solid Waste Authority.
Any questions on the composting class? Next is the email from Jim Helm to begin a discussion on committee structures. Jim Helm, a resident, if you don't know him, wrote us a very nice and thoughtful memo. I'm surprised he's not here tonight. It deals with, let me paraphrase, jump in if I miss something, not only scaling down the number of appointees for different committees. He thinks in his mind that 5 is plenty, 7 is too many, and 9 is way too many. That was one of his suggestions. Others was getting rid of certain committees, which, and changing our historical review to it, not
Commission.
to a commission. Anyway, can you say this better than me?
No, it's fine, sure, I can
No, I
jump
prefer
in.
if you
Oh,
said
that's
it better
fine.
than me.
No problem. As far as Jim's request, he did analysis looking at a few surrounding townships to gain a better perspective of what committees and commissions exist, what their purpose and mission is, and aligning those priorities with the priorities of West Vincent Township. So he was making a recommendation to better focus the organizational mission of the board and how that plays out in terms of committees, and recognizing that some committees, the way things operate, may not always align. So how we best communicate between the committees and the board, and looking at how to better facilitate, I think, implementing the goals of the Board of Supervisors. So part of the recommendation was to scale down the committees and looking at size, saying some of the committees are too large, and then also looking at potentially, and he had put out there, the EAC and Sustainability Committee, folding those goals into the work of the Planning Commission, saying that the Planning Commission right now is not as proactive as a Planning Commission can be, so putting that out there and aligning priorities so each one is more effective. Now, this is a proposal that Jim is putting out here for discussion.
And that's all it is
yeah.
to begin the discussion
So-
tonight and let the other board members and the audience think about it, and we'll address this at a future meeting.
Is this on the website?
No, it is not.
Does anybody have a problem that goes on the website?
I think we should ask Jim, right?
I think that's
Yeah, sure.
courteous.
You want to call him and ask him?
Oh, sure.
Anybody else want to get in line with me? Hi, I'm Sarah Schick, 1201 Davis Lane. Which committee, so he's suggesting wrapping sustainability and EAC into the planning commission.
Right.
You did not specify, but he's also recommending doing away with the Historic Resources Committee and creating a historic commission
Correct.
of approximately 5 members, since he likes the number 5. Are there any other committees he's recommending getting rid of?
No.
Okay, I would like to suggest as a minimum, I think putting it up on the website or something is a good idea, but I recommend you forward it to the chairman of those committees, the ones affected, the EAC, Planning Commission, Sustainability. Why not wrap in Parks and Rec too while you're at it? Or reduce the number of that to 5, but you know, if you're gonna do the rework, toss out the baby and the bathwater.
It was a resident that has these thoughts.
Yeah.
We're not buying anything tonight. Just good.
My turn. Well, you weren't in line.
Harriet, you gotta grab her faster, Harriet.
I was waving my arm, but anyway.
Yeah, but you didn't grab me. So, also, when I got on the planning commission, thereabouts 10 years ago, there were only 5 members, and there was a decision made to make it 7 for several reasons. One, they thought it would be easier to get a quorum. I never understood that math. But it was that so many of the planning commission people are asked to be liaisons to other committees. If you cut us back to 5, that would be Sarah and Bill doing all of the liaison. But maybe that's how it's going now. I don't know.
Good point.
Your turn.
Harriet.
I think that it would be a real problem for the Historic Resources Committee. There are people who enjoy doing historical research and who have no interest whatsoever in making judgments about what their neighbors can do with their houses. So I'm saying it would,
We'd still have
we'd blow that committee apart, but there might be a way of giving a way for the researchers to do that and then tell people what to do, or to do something else.
Don't read too much into this.
I'm just-
One of Jim's really good points is the communication between this board and the committees is lacking, and direction
Well, come to the Historic Resources Committee, we have fun.
Harriet and I do our best to keep you informed.
You're gonna have to serve a lot of alcohol to get me there.
I guess you want more.
Harriet,
He wants more.
Harriet,
What?
is your problem the idea of the commission having the ability to tell people what they can do, like an historical card? something like that?
That is what many people on the committee object to.
But it wouldn't,
But we wouldn't have to necessarily do that.
could we share the
If it's a
microphone?
commission or a harm, then you would do that.
We could do that, but we wouldn't have to.
Yes, it's not, the only place, Brian, can I borrow that for a minute?
If you promise to keep it to 1 minute.
The only place in the township that qualifies now to have a HARB is the Birch Run Historic District. So it wouldn't be a HARB. The second thing is that the Historic Commission would be another mandatory review of projects coming through the Planning Commission. But as it is now, the EAC serves in that role and does that review, and the HRC provides them resources when they need them for those reviews. So we're not shortcutting anything. How many seconds do I have left, John?
But in that particular case, okay, with the EAC, and I've heard this from that committee over the last few years, not recently, but in the past, we're still losing houses or historic structures because of lack of communication within our own township between committees and stuff. And this,
It's not between committees.
Well-
It's between that continuing rotation of code enforcement officers. Harriet trains up one, 3 months later, she's
are
meeting
you
with
telling me
another
it
one.
never happened prior to last year?
It's happened, but you know, the problem with, this is, you've blown my minute. The problem with code enforcement, period, is it relies on neighbors to tattle on neighbors. We don't have, and we don't want the kind of thing where we have zoning police driving around the township saying they didn't put their garbage cans in and it's Friday, you know. So we don't want that. Or maybe you do, but some of us don't want that.
I don't want that.
Okay, good. You and I agreed again. But in terms of what I believe the solution is, if the board really believes you need a historic commission, you will end up with a historic commission and a historic resources committee, whether it decides to stay aligned with the township or just become essentially the West Vincent Historic Society would be a whole issue
What the point
downstream.
tonight is not to really enter in the debate, it's to begin the debate, show it out and start thinking about it, and then we'll have it. So we don't have to do this 2 or 3 times.
I know, but here at the beginning of the debate, I just wanted to share some information because I'm one of the people who tries to coordinate between committees and the board. Thank you.
Right.
I'll get my own microphone.
2 things. One is, as far as posting on the website, I believe almost all communications that go into the township are right to knowable, so it would be public. And if it doesn't show up that way, I can tell you, you can expect the right to know, because I'd like to see his logic to it, because I don't have any differences with what we've heard tonight. But I'm a person who likes to read things, and so, see it that way. On the issue of liaison and that the board does not know what's going on with the committee, having attended a number of the committee meetings, some of the board members have not been terribly good about being the liaison and showing up at their
Thank
committee
you, Brian.
meetings.
Julie.
So,
You're not the only one.
notice I used plural there.
Yes.
So my thing of watching this about liaisons is that the liaison system, as it seems to be talked about, is broken. It doesn't work. And I think something else needs to be done. My suggestion would be that each committee's draft minutes go out to the other people so they get early notice about it. It's something written, it shows up, it's easy to get to. But the thing of having someone show up from various and sundry other committees, it ain't working real well.
It doesn't even have to be liaisons, and I'm guilty, particularly this year and last year. But communication doesn't have to be attending a meeting once a month. It could be simply meeting in January and putting a good plan of action and staying in touch with it. There's always a phone. I don't know whether we use those anymore, but
All I'm seeing is the way it's talked about right now is people physically showing up. And that is not happening on multiple levels, not just board of supervisors. So, my suggestion is some other mechanism. I'm not sure what is a better one, but maybe try something else. That's it for me. Thank you.
thank you, Brian. Any other comments? Seeing none, I think we covered, did we get everything out?
I think so.
Okay, so that's gonna happen, if not the next meeting, then
January.
middle of January.
Okay, well, talk to Jim.
Thank you. Next. The Quinn subdivision extension request?
I move to grant the extension for the Quinn subdivision until January 16, 2018.
Is there a second?
Yes, there is.
Why is it here? Are you gonna second it? Dave?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Are you an empath tonight? What happened? It says the motion carried unanimously.
Yeah.
You're good.
I
Okay,
have a feeling.
yes.
Is that the date of the planning commission meeting?
We have December planning commission.
Okay.
Any questions on what we're doing here? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of granting the request?
Aye.
Next is authorize the advertisement of Parks and Recs ordinance.
I move to approve the advertisement of the Parks and Recreation ordinance for consideration on December 18, 2018.
Second.
Oh, 2017, sorry.
Second.
Yes.
I want a different
Okay.
perspective.
Good, my neck was getting stiff looking at
Yeah, I want you to have a chance to turn this way. Is this a new ordinance or is this a revision of the previous one?
It's a revision. It's an amendment.
Okay, It would be nice if it said that, makes it sound like a new one. And for which purpose was the need for a
7 to
revision?
5.
No, 9 to 7.
9 to 7?
Reduce the number of members.
Going back to what it was prior to last year.
And they recommended that, or you decided you thought that was a nicer number?
No, they recommended it.
Okay. I'll just wait here.
Any other questions on this ordinance?
Yes, you did.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. We're gonna skip one just to throw Sarah. We're gonna, next is the authorized advertising of the ordinance to proceed with the sewer sale.
I move the township authorize the advertisement of the ordinance to proceed with the sewer sale.
Second.
You have to read the resolution.
Do I get to do the second part? Is this part?
No.
No,
Or
that's
the
next.
second one?
That's
That's the next one.
That's
Okay,
next.
let's see, right.
Rob, you want to explain what this does?
Sure. So this ordinance isn't approving the sewer sale. It's merely putting the mechanism in place that once the bids come in, the board can, at that point, make a decision whether to proceed or not. All it does is authorize certain township personnel to sign an asset purchase agreement if the board decides to move forward.
Just for this audience sake, would you mind making a statement on that? I'll use the term gentleman that said he represented Aqua America at our last meeting?
Mr. Galt?
Yes.
Upper PA, what's it?
He was from Aqua. Yeah. What kind of statement would you like to make?
Let me ask the
So-
question, and maybe that will
Did he
help.
have
Did you
any-
reopen the bids?
We did.
Did that gentleman
Have
have
the authority.
any
No.
authority within Aqua?
No. So after the meeting, the sale team went back to talk to all of the qualified bidders, specifically talking to Mr. Galt's superiors, who we had found out that he had no authorization from anyone, let alone the president of Aqua, as he suggested, to come to the meeting and make those
And
statements.
how interested is Aqua in our systems?
After speaking with them again, they're not interested at all.
So I just wanted to get that out because I believe that gentleman, if I'm paraphrasing, said Aqua was interested at 3 times the number. And it wasn't, it's fictitious. I don't know what put him up to it or why he did it, but it's
Taking
wrong.
the money
So
then.
does,
What's that?
Should have taken up his offer right then and then.
He didn't have the authority.
does that mean you're expecting more than one offer now, and you're asking to grant action ability to some person when you get those offers in?
I would rather not comment on what we're expecting or not.
So what do you,
So I can admit this, after the last meeting, after hearing those statements, we decided that the best course of action would be to put it out to bid to all the people that were originally qualified. We expect those to come in sometime between now and the next meeting, and at that point, we'll also have a hearing on this, and all the facts will come together.
okay. At the last meeting, you had 18 people you had called it down to, and 3 people who you
Correct.
ultimately talked to, so it's those 3.
Correct.
Minus 1.
Qualified.
Okay, thank you.
Gotta use the microphone, Ken.
I'll share.
Joe Angelosi, 21 Gregory. Guys, I thought at the last meeting, you certainly left the crowd with the impression that this was not locked and loaded. It wasn't a done deal.
It's not.
And I believe in the minutes it said we were going to rebid it. I guess you're going to reevaluate it.
No, we put out the bid.
Right?
Rebid it.
And now you're asking through the ordinance a right to make the decision on these bids, to approve.
Correct.
But it was pretty clear, don't you think, for the community, this was not the direction they wanted you guys to head?
We're not doing anything. That's going to take a formal vote, which you haven't heard from us, to accept the bid or whatever. We're just going to actually going back to where we thought we were going to be last week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay. There was, seemed to be a lot of open questions that were, unanswered. What are you going to do with the funds? Is there any entitlement for the homeowners to receive some funding back out of the proceeds? A lot of unanswered questions. Are you guys proposing to answer those questions in this evaluation?
They will be answered, but we don't know what the answers are at this point. There's still legal question, and Rob, can you speak to that issue?
I mean, there's still ongoing research with respect to, like we're referring to the reserve accounts. There's still ongoing research as to what can and cannot be done with them.
Not only the reserve accounts, but the assets themselves.
Based on our investigation and our research that was done, those assets are dedicated in our township assets.
Right, they were entrusted to the township for operational purposes. They weren't entrusted to the township to resell. All right, it's a violation of trust is what we're talking about here.
But without it getting into an argument over that, they were dedicated or transferred to the township in fee simple.
Agreed. I think all the homeowners believe that you are going to be custodians of these assets that we pay for. And you guys are going to flip them? That was, I mean, I don't know how you can get to, it's your asset to dispose of. And that's what seems to be where you are at, and where, you know, everybody's making money on this thing except the people that actually paid for it.
It's not like any revenue that we might get from this is going to be sent to another township.
It's not going back to the people who paid for it in the first place, John. That's the problem, man. I mean, think through this, all right? The homeowners, Matthews Meadows, for example, where I live, I think every other community is exactly like we are. Whether it was baked into our home price or we bought it and operated and dedicated to you, we paid for it, all right? And what our expectation was that we're going to pay for the operating costs, the capital improvements, and then you guys are making a decision to sell it.
If you're
Why would you give it to us?
That's exactly what I was going
We
to
didn't
buy.
give you anything. We entrusted it to
No
operate.
reason you would give it to us.
No, you could have kept it yourself and operated it yourself. You wanted to give it to us back in 2008.
Let me tell you why we wanted to give it to you is because we wanted that burden lifted from us. We agreed to
Exactly.
carry it.
Oh, okay. Just like a road, just like everything else that the township owns.
Why is it such a burden on you guys to operate it, honestly? If you look
Why was it a burden for you to operate it?
Yes.
We're not in the sewer business.
Guys,
We're trying to
take
get
it
out of
back.
the sewer business.
Well, you're going to offer to sell it back to us?
No, but
Well,
Or give it back? Why don't you give it back?
I would be in agreement with that, but I don't know about the others.
I think you should make an offer to the communities that they have the option to take their sewer systems back before you guys sell it. Give us that option.
Rob, what happens
Can we exclude
if a
some?
system like, say, Matthews Meadows, because they're right across the street, would fail and it was owned by the homeowners association? What would happen?
Without looking up the DEP regs or having it in front of me, it would be on the township to somehow ensure that the homeowners had
Yes.
Why?
sanitary sewer
Yeah,
disposal.
but you're
Never mind
shaking,
then.
you're just, you're saying that doesn't matter. Well, that matters a lot to us.
So no, we won't want to give it back, unless you take full responsibility and the
Oh, okay.
financial hit. But no, he's saying you can't. We would be still liable for your
It
sewer.
depends on how the agreement was structured.
I don't know, is it? It's.
How-
If we want to
it's
indemnify you guys
welfare
from
and-
any liability, we can do that.
Can they?
It's a private sewer system, of course we can.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still going to be DEP, still going to put pressure on the township, but I don't think that's not what this is tonight. I don't know if this.
No, I know,
Have this
no, we
discussion.
don't have to have this discussion now, it came up. So we will definitely think about
So you,
this.
thank you.
And seriously, we think we're moving towards a sale, but until we actually see the numbers, get a bid, and read all that, anything could change. That's why.
I think it just needs to be fully disclosed, and the decision process should be, like, out there. You guys got to establish better decision criteria than what you have established.
You will be informed, and we'll have,
Well, what do you mean? We have to
Another
change
discussion.
our criteria. What is our criteria?
Oh,
For a decision
number
making.
one was to free up resources of the township resources to work in other areas. And the township, what we uncovered last time, has literally no full-time assets, minimal assets dedicated to the sewer system.
Correct, because we're not in the sewer business.
The second thing is that there was a claim, but unsubstantiated, that there was capital improvements that needed to be done, right? Were not identified. We have $1.5 million reserve for those capital improvements.
Not for your system, you have zero.
Hey, we realize that. Hey, by the way, we were supposed to, when Little Gas was here, we agreed that we were supposed to build a capital fund, and you guys ran the expenses out of control. The engineering, I mean, literally quadrupled, not quadrupled, 3x the expenses. All right, and the engineering fees are off the chart.
There's another good reason why we don't want to be in municipal authority business.
We're just not managing the process well, John.
Correct.
I mean, really, it's.
So we're trying to get it to a person that can manage
Can
it.
do that.
And
has the
cash in on it,
expertise
cash
in
in on it.
Cash in on it. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just same as the people that cut our grass and, take care of our ball fields and everything else in the damn township. Yes, they're all there to make, do a service and get paid for
Must
it.
be missing something
And
because,
they're experts at it, so they do it cheaper than we do.
oh, I agree.
They might take some profits out of it, but that's the way it works,
I agree that.
because they're better at it.
As Steve Tolman mentioned and as captured in the meeting minutes, that there's something upside down here because why would they be willing to pay us in lower rates? I mean, pay us what we want, just as the numbers are upside down. We should be able to operate as efficiently as they do. Now, I would make that argument.
I
We'd
would
have
have the
higher
argument
costs to
we
hire
should,
people
but
to
name
do it.
one municipality that can and does, or federal
It's
government
not-
or state government. It just
I
doesn't
think you have to
happen.
be interested in doing it, in being more efficient. And honestly, I don't think we are. I mean,
No, and I think you need more sewer systems, so that you can accept the operating costs of doing it, because when you start hiring a manager and everything else, your salary expenses and everything go up.
When was the last time
And-
we bid any of these contracted services? And in case in point, Cedar Valley Engineering doesn't even have a price, a quote for Chapter 94 reports in their price list. Yeah, that would have been one of the first things I would think we would negotiate, a flat fee for Chapter 94 reports. It's incredulous that we're not addressing these issues that are they're just fundamental to operating a sewer system, a sanitation system. I don't know, guys. There's a lot of failures, is what I'm saying. But my biggest concern is, honestly, I didn't think it was a bad deal, right? As long as the homeowners got some of the capital back that they put into the systems that you guys are selling.
Right, but we would have to come up with a price of your system. See, I have a
But it
gut
was
feeling,
the-
this is my gut feeling. My gut feeling is your system is negative. In other words, for somebody buying these systems, would not want it.
Wait a
Would
minute,
not pay you $1 for it. But they have to take all of them, so I think, I could
Respectfully
be wrong.
disagree, because our rates are going down.
Yeah, I think that's.
Okay,
I don't know if
respectfully
that's- I don't
disagree.
know if that's political or
All
not.
right. Well, I don't know what it is, but
To
our rates
make
are going
everybody
down.
lower, but-
So that's a tough argument to substantiate if you're basing it off of what we're going to pay. We're going to pay a lower amount.
I'm
Numbers
sure
don't-
we could figure this out.
Yeah, I hope we can. I just have a really difficult problem with you guys taking an asset, and I know you say we gifted it to you. I think
It's just like a road or
I think
anything else.
it's a responsibility of the community, the leaders of the community, to act on behalf of the community. And, that's what we are. We're us and the other homeowners associations that, dedicated these to you, we're paying the operating expenses.
Well, you're the only one, I think, that dedicated the homeowner association. That was in,
No, it
along with.
came from the developer.
It came from the developers, like everybody else. So it wasn't you that gave us the
It's
system.
2 and 2 settlement agreement.
The developer was not in the country. We assumed the asset. We operated the asset. I think you might want to do some research on this one.
I think yours is the only one.
And I think I bring a number of people in here that could argue that point way better than I can.
So yours is probably the only one that did that. Otherwise, the other developers dedicated to it. It's just like they do the roads.
But it's baked into the house price, guys. I just still think it's, if the homeowners don't get something back, and just you guys, you represent the community. If all of the community should not benefit from just a few, maybe that's I think it's just a redistribution of wealth, I guess. I don't know, but it's unfair.
There's a lot, I mean.
And I know
when we
life's
talk
not
about
fair,
government, there's a
right?
ton
Life's
that's
not fair. I get that.
Well, it's not just life.
But this is really unfair.
No, that's government.
This is way out.
You
over
allow
the line.
government to have more say in your life, you're gonna have that problem. It's just.
Well, I don't want you guys to have say in my life.
Well, you did. You
with
gave us the
respect to
sewer
this.
system. You should have kept it yourself. You have control over
That
that.
if something went
You
wrong.
cannot do
who
that.
Would you know respect?
You can't give a responsibility to somebody and then want the benefits from it. No, you gave
10 or
away
20
your,
years
something
later.
you
We
like.
agreed to pay the operating expenses. We didn't put any restrictions on you to raise fees. We're asking you to be responsible in how you manage it.
I don't know why the fees went up. And maybe
Well-
there was some repairs that had to be done.
Guys,
Maybe there's some.
engineering fees went from $5,000 to $12,900 this year. How does that happen?
What, for your sewer system?
Yeah,
Oh, easy, because we had to,
Yeah,
take inventory of all the assets.
Yeah, there was some.
There's some,
issues.
yeah, you're right.
inventory,
Yeah.
it took inventory, please.
It had
I'll
never
tell
been
you,
done.
we were starting at square one with certain information
There's not many
this year.
assets, a couple of aerators and pumps, come on, please, please.
I think you're making light of it, so.
Actually, maybe, maybe not, but I've been in the building, I've talked to the engineers that maintain it, because we were running that place, guys. So, but, you know, we got a little bit of experience in this area, but I have, my biggest issue is, I didn't think it was a bad deal, okay, just so you know. I thought that but the proceeds from the sale, I think it's an egregious violation of trust with the homeowners for the community to keep those funds.
I've reserved the right to disagree with you, but I gotta tell you this. That has not been decided at all.
It sounds like it's locked and loaded.
It may
And
be.
I think you guys, you left the community, the people, this place was packed 2 weeks ago. I think you left them with the impression that you weren't gonna proceed with this.
No,
You're gonna
we were
reevaluate it.
No, right, no.
You're gonna reevaluate it, take everybody's thoughts into
We are,
consideration.
we're just, nothing has changed other than, instead of accepting one offer and then acting on it after we decided some questions on what to do with revenue and the capital reserve, because we haven't discussed that as a board. It hasn't been
That
discussed, that's
discussion
what I'm
has
trying
to
to
be,
do.
I mean, will be done, has to be done. We have to decide what we're gonna do with the proceeds. So that's not something that we're not gonna discuss.
Hey,
Well,
Rob?
Yes.
My understanding of this ordinance is basically it sets up nuts and bolts for how we do execute a bid, accept a bid.
Correct,
That's
if you
all.
want to move forward,
If
this,
we accept one.
right,
Okay.
this doesn't actually accept it.
And there's a timeline for this,
Timeline for.
for this next process?
Authorization for the ordinance, we would send it out to the paper, it would be on the agenda for, I think, the next meeting, the bids come in sometime within the next week or so, so then they would be open at the next meeting.
And approved,
No, opened and evaluated,
all right?
and then if they want to approve at that point, they can approve, or they can reject the bids.
It's just as a point, Erica, make sure that we do a good job of advertising it particularly in the homeowners associations when this comes up.
Oh, sure.
I think
And it is a shame, because this has been discussed for years. And it's a shame that the homeowners don't take one person out of their homeowner association to come to meetings. And revolve it so they know it's
Mike, you
happening.
guys have our email addresses, you know, I was HOA president
Well,
for
wait,
3
wait,
years,
wait.
I didn't get one email.
Wait,
not
don't you send
one.
out the agenda?
I sent out the agenda.
Yeah, so if she has your email, you get the agendas, because I get them.
Does Tony Fiadino from Matthews Meadows HOA get the agendas?
I have no idea.
If he signed
When
up
was
on
the
the website. I signed up on the website, I get the agendas.
Oh, you were just saying being proactive. So you're saying that we should sign up for the agenda?
Absolutely. If you want to know what's happening in your township, you have to be involved. You have to at least
Well, I think
get
if
the
you're
agenda.
thinking about selling a sewer system of an HOA, somebody should be proactive and reach out to the HOA.
And I'm not sure that.
Seems like a reasonable thing.
I wasn't even here back then,
We're
so
talking
they couldn't have
about
done
5 point, or we said, I said 5.6 million, you said 5.1 million. It's $5 million, guys. $5 million. This is not an insignificant amount of money.
Meaning what? Still don't understand.
You're selling an asset that's $5 million that affects the homeowners, selling it out from the homeowners.
Well, yes, that's true. But just so like every business that we conduct here affects
When was the
homeowners.
last time you did a $5 million sale of something? Ever?
I don't know, I've only been here 2 years. so.
I haven't been here a long time, I haven't heard it. But, yeah, the reason I'm getting involved is I want to learn more about the process here, but I'm just appalled, frankly, by these proceedings, that because I don't think there's a single person in the HOA that thinks that we gave, all right, dedicated these systems for you guys to resell, to flip.
No, you gave us a problem. that
You
didn't
gave
want.
us the
And
problem.
then now you're pissed
and if
off
it
that
was
we're
a-
selling
And
it.
if the problem
That's not fair.
carried a dollar sign.
And as long as we provide the service of
Wait a
sewer
minute.
to you,
We didn't complain about how, we haven't had any complaints about, I've complained about the fees, but we say, hey, can you get more efficient, right? We're hoping that you're gonna head in the direction of being more efficient.
If we
Are
ever.
they-
And then you're saying, no, let's get rid of,
Well,
we
no.
gave you a problem, now you wanna get rid of the problem we gave you, but we entrusted you with to operate these things.
And
We
they
didn't
have
entrust,
operated.
we didn't say, hey, here's an asset, Mike, sell it, and you keep the money.
wait, that wasn't the intention.
But that's
then-
what you're doing.
Because we're not operating
What if Mike's
efficiently.
right, and they broke down, the bids broke it down that Weatherstone's worth $2 million, Ludwig's Corner's worth $2 million, Weatherstone is minus 500,000.
No,
or
Matthews Meadows.
Matthews Meadows. Can we come to you
And
and
get
get
the
that money?
$500,000?
Well, I know that's not the
No,
case,
no,
but yeah,
but
you
can
can.
we?
Yeah, come on, break,
Yeah,
yeah.
the answer's gonna, don't say yes, because you're not gonna write that check, and you know it.
And your other residents won't.
And not only that, but
And I was
over the
hoping
last
that-
20
But
years,
the
if
other-
there was a major malfunction that had a high dollar tag, who would pay that?
We paid for it.
You would. It wouldn't come out of this bills list.
We paid for it. I know what the event you're talking about. And by the way, that was an issue with an engineer, the design that was approved by the township engineer who
I don't-
screwed it up.
I know nothing that you're talking about.
No, I know
Think it's
exactly what
something
happened,
else.
all right? No,
No, it didn't happen.
that was a big deal for us because we got assessed the fee to fix that problem. We get it. So the
Yes.
answer to your question, if something bad happened, who pays for it? We pay for it. So we did.
Right.
I mean, we're right in the middle of that one, man, because that
When
was
was
a
that?
lot of money.
When was it?
2006-ish, 7, yeah.
And you paid it over time?
Before
Yeah.
that was before we accepted
It
it.
was a year before we-
So at that time, it was a developer, so he would assess that against the
It
homeowner.
wasn't a developer, developer was out of the picture.
But that's why it was assessed on the homeowners, because it wasn't a township asset.
Actually, it was post-dedication, it had to do with a storm. It was a pipe that got blocked, and that didn't have it was supposed to have dual pipes when it was built, and it was engineered improperly, it was approved, it shouldn't have never been approved as is. So, it was a bad situation. So, but we did pay for it. Anyway, I think I've shared my perspective on this, and I think, I don't know where this is gonna go, but it just seems to me like it's locked and loaded. You're gonna sell these things. And it's the issue, I think you need to be very clear on what you're gonna do with the proceeds. And I know that you're gonna say, hey, we don't have any capital balance left in there, but hey, frankly, that's because of poor management.
Oh, I agree, but then your rates would have been a hell of a lot higher, again. To get a capital reserve, you would have been paying a lot more than you're paying now, that's for sure.
The expectation was that we would have a capital reserve, Mike.
I understand
All right,
that,
and it
but-
was because Gas ran the thing so inefficiently, and frankly, what we're paying for the engineering fees are outrageous. Nobody even asked those questions. I mean, I'm looking into that, by the way.
Well, look at the engineering fields last year, not this year, because this year has a lot to do with the sewer sale.
No, there's a separate line item for Cedarville Engineering for source sale that's actually on this bill's list, all right, that was related to the transaction.
Oh.
The other, there's a ridiculous increase in fees year over year from Cedarville Engineering. I'm talking from like $6,000 to over $12,000. Am I right, Eric?
Well, for this year, for Matthews Meadows, the engineering fees did increase. We had some issues with DEP coming down and wanting to do more monitoring with our crop management plan. So there were issues they brought up from submitting our groundwater monitoring report, and they had to be addressed, and we had to do some additional work. We had to do some additional landscaping and some treatment to our crop management. So that was part of why it has increases here too. And it's more substantial. But those are things that had to be addressed. We've got to meet the conditions of our permits, so. But there was an increase.
So maybe
yes.
we're not managing it perfectly, but maybe we're not as bad as you think we are.
Well, I'd like to look into that, and I'll come back and let you know from my perspective.
Fine.
I'm not saying, guys, I know this is not your full-time job. And no, I'm not expecting anybody at this table here to be an expert in source system management.
They're not.
And I know that. All right, I think we just have to question every single bill related to any engineering, and we should be bidding these services out. We haven't bid these operating services out. When was the last time?
No, it's been a while. No,
It's
I'm
been a
not
long time.
arguing with you, yeah.
And all I see is the rates going up and up and up, and nobody's doing anything about it. That's all.
It's a very good point. Ask her if she, no, I should, you're exactly right, and I've brought that up a couple times in the past.
Thank you. So, thank you.
Thank you.
One last thing, Buck. This is going to keep coming to the next few meetings?
You're gonna have to kill me to keep me out of here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna bring a posse next time.
All right.
Yes, Kip.
Yes, I'm Kip Archibald, and I'm here to talk about everything but money. I'm here kind of, I guess, as a spokesperson, an unappointed spokesperson for the people who turn on their water and water comes out. But they have wells and they're drinking the water that you're pouring into the ground. And I don't think the pro forma or whatever you used for sales document, whatever your consultants came up with, is on the web. And I asked for a copy, but I haven't got it. So I'm going to ask you what is in it, in terms of what is in it, what is it that you have put in the pro forma except for the number of sewage systems, the number of miles of pipe, the number of pumps, and all the rest. What conditions have you required be met by the people who are sending you these bids?
Conditions, what kind of conditions?
Well, I'll start with initiative number 10 from the sustainability.
I don't think it's not regulated by.
I'm not sure.
Here,
Sure it is. You all adopted this. Initiative 10, ensure that municipal and community wastewater, I want to read this into the minutes if that's okay with you, is treated to remove emerging contaminants such as pharmaceuticals and personal care products from treated effluent using techniques such as biofiltration to reverse osmosis. The goal, protect and improve water quality and quantity. The target, reduce sources of non-point source pollution 20% from 2015, baseline 2020. The scope, Township, and the French Creek watershed. Number 1, tasks. Number 1, perform regular testing on monitoring wells at spray irrigation sites for chlorides, bromides, and caffeine. Number 2, monitor water quality best practices for emerging contaminants and ways to test for same. Number 3, add selected test methods to look for emerging contaminants in monitoring wells and local streams. 4, if found to be above trace amounts, investigate solutions, including retrofitting municipal and community wastewater systems with appropriate filtration method. Require new plants to include chosen appropriate filtration method. 5, if no significant presence is found, continuing monitoring on a predetermined schedule. Results, fewer contaminants enter groundwater. Who will be responsible to see this happens? The Board of Supervisors and the Township Manager. Who should do the work? A water quality specialist, Township Manager, Board of Supervisors, and Solicitor. When does it need to be done to have an impact? 2017 for testing and establishing of new plant requirements, 2020 for retrofits. How do we measure this? Tasks, testing done and evaluated plants retrofitted as necessary, new plants with filtration as necessary. Target, water tests of streams and aquifer. Now,
what was that?
I
That
wanna
was an
know-
ordinance? of some sort?
I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with the document, what is it?
well, you can talk to them later about it, but it's the sustainability plan for the township, and it's a legal document. So this is, I presume, has been considered and is included in the pro forma that went out to all of the water companies when you put it out for bids.
I would say no, but
I
could be
would,
wrong.
that's why I'm standing here.
Yeah, but for some reason, I don't think that document has any authority.
Be careful.
I mean, I don't know, but.
Yeah, I'm not
Just
not
guessing,
familiar with
they
the
don't know
document, so I
about it.
can't comment.
You accepted it. You
Actually,
adopted
accepted
it.
the report, yes, but I don't think.
No, you accepted it as a work plan, and it was accepted initially in, what was it, 2014?
14, 15?
2010, 2012?
Well, I mean, I guess the lawyers got to look at it,
Well, they should have looked at it before you all adopted it.
apparently.
Because
Before
this
adopting
is this-
what?
About-
The
before
work
putting the
plan
sewer up
for
for
the,
sale and having them agree to the terms of this work plan.
Before you wrote the standards of performance
Right.
for your vendor.
Well, I should say
so I
the engineer's not
know
here to
that you
comment,
all
but
are
anyway,
very
the
interested in
engineer-
how much you're gonna get for it and how the money's gonna be spent, but I think you should be most interested of all in what kind of water and what kind of effluent is coming out of all of those and how it's gonna be fixed, if it isn't suitable to drink now.
Okay, so there's somebody, I mean, somebody says it's not suitable to drink now in Weatherspoon, or any of these places can't drink the
Oh.
water?
I should have done a Brockovitz thing. I have a bottle of it, and I should have brought in the little
Well, do you have the
glasses
test
and had
results
you all
of it?
agree. I do not intend to pay for the test results of it. You guys are supposed to be paying for the test results of it.
Can't
Who
pass
will
them
be
if they've got
responsible to see
potable
this
water.
happens? The Board of Supervisors and the Township Manager. This
Yes,
is
but
my
if they-
responsibility to test this water. It's your responsibility to test the...
Do we do it?
The groundwater monitoring report are the reports that, yes,
Okay, do
do
we
that
have them?
analysis. Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Are they,
That, all those requirements are part of the permit for each system, and they will be transferred responsibilities to a new entity.
okay.
Yes.
Including the emerging contaminants.
Well, we would have to look at that, but whatever the requirements are for the DEP permit that would be a responsibility of any entity.
It is, but the fact is, we've asked this township, and you all have been enthusiastic about it in the past, to be above and beyond the DEP requirements, which are basically minimums. So the fact is, there's nothing to keep us from having higher requirements and doing a better job than the DEP requires. So
Okay,
far,
so the-
we've got a lot of problems with drinking water in this state. I would suggest that you can contact the Master Well Owners Network, which is a Penn State, what, I'm trying to say committee, but I don't think it's a committee. It's part of Penn State, and it monitors water and groundwater all over the state. And it does look into people's drinking water, et cetera, et cetera. And I also think that we should have Penn State's help with some of this and improving the water quality rather than just saying, oh, well, let's put this down and let's see how we can get around it. So that's,
Okay, so you're gonna look into that?
Yeah, look into it.
Yeah.
It's part of the DEP requirements, it's already being assigned.
Yeah, but I don't think this is part of DEP, but it's something that
But she's
we
right.
may have,
We've got
now this township
check
has
that
been very
and see
supportive
if
of
there's
sustainability,
anything we can do to come up
and we've worked very
with a
hard.
sustainability plan.
So, I would hate to see us see how little we can get away with when it comes to this as a legal matter, just to see how much money we can make.
Your point is well taken.
Okay, Brian, you go next.
Sarah, you're up there first. Come on, let's.
Oh, you think so?
Let's get going.
Okay, so, I just wanted to remind you that at the last meeting, I suggested you have a committee that maybe Joe and I would be on that would help you decide how to disperse the windfall of the, I know you're gonna have your own selves and experts and stuff, but in the meantime, a small number of citizens to be a part of that would make us feel like we were, participating and contributing. So I just wanted to remind you that I volunteered before, and I think Joe would probably come along. So, thanks.
Brian?
So you're getting you pivoting back and forth, making sure your neck keeps working.
Yes. Thank you.
To the gentleman from Matthews Meadows, I don't think I remember seeing you here at the meetings when Mr. Wendell Gass was the township manager. And I do remember that I raised some questions about the costs associated with sewer plants. I think they were associated with Matthews Meadows. I would not want to be held to that. But I know there were questions I had back at that time frame, and I wasn't necessarily really happy with the answers that I was getting. But, it was what it is. I didn't have a personal issue in it, but there was, at that time, we probably would have been good to raise the same issues at that time earlier on, as opposed to when we appear to be at the end of a process. So that's only my own comment.
Thank you. Any other comments? It's been a while.
Yeah, your second.
There's a motion and a second. We got it, Tammy?
I do have a motion in a second.
Okay, and this is it's to advertise the ordinance to proceed, right?
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next is a motion to award a bid for the
No,
two.
no,
No?
One more thing on that.
Authorized signature recording declaration of restricted covenants.
Come on, we gotta go back to that. You wanna read them?
I move to approve the authorized signature and recording of the declaration of restricted covenants to maintain certain township property for sanitary sewer use, open space, or other township use.
Second.
You wanna explain what this is?
So regardless of which way the board chooses to move forward, whether they go through with the sale or not, we pinpointed certain properties relevant to the sewer sale that this declaration would ensure that they are maintained as open space or for sanitary sewer use only. So in the event that they are sold, or if they are sold, then nothing's gonna happen, they're not gonna get subdivided and built on, it's gonna remain open space.
Any questions from the audience? Sarah?
To who? John. It's my exercise. I go to a church that makes me get up and down like too. Maybe you'd move your meeting to the middle of the week. Who gets that signature authority?
Who gets what?
This was something about authority to sign the restricted
Authorized
covenant.
signature.
Yeah, it's declaration,
It just means-
John would sign it.
Yes,
Okay,
the
so
chair.
it's authorizing John,
No, I believe it author in my absence, David.
Well,
the vice chair. Okay, so it's
I'm gonna be
authorizing,
absent later today.
so it's authorizing the chair, and in his absence, the vice chair, to sign these documents. And these documents, are they particular to this sewage sale?
They're particular to 14 properties relevant to the sewer system, so anything with open space like in Weatherstone, it's a big parcel, both of them.
A, B, and C?
Exactly. In addition-
That's three of them.
Well,
So you're not doing A, you're B and C.
correct, B and C, because A, I
Okay.
believe, is the bottom portion. But for B and C, even though they already have the French and
A
Pick
is the wetlands.
Yeah, they have, B and C have the restrictive covenants or the conservation easements from French and Pick already on them. This is gonna be, in addition to that, there's gonna be another restriction, just to make sure nothing happens. Same thing goes for St. Stephen's Green, there's open space there.
And the restriction is gonna be on that portion of the land that
It's
is
gonna be on
used
the-
by the,
It's gonna be on the entire parcel,
oh my gosh, would you been able to put the trail in?
because it allows not only open space, but also township uses. So if the township wants to put a trail in, then yes.
Okay, so is that the way that we're protecting the potential or the existing trails like on Weatherstone Beach?
No, that's gonna be something different, that if they decide to move forward with the sale, then the easements that would convey whatever facilities on that to the potential buyer.
So this is an umbrella easement on top of easements that
On top of
already
it.
exist?
With respect to Weatherstone, yes, but a lot of the other parcels didn't have conservation easements or restricted covenants on them already, so this makes up for those.
So on the other 12 parcels, they didn't exist. There are only 6 or 7 plants, right? How come there's so many parcels?
Because in addition to the plants themselves, there's disposal fields, there's potential disposal fields for in the future, there's other, the plant itself, there may be 3 parcels associated with one plant, 3 UPI numbers, so it's individual documents for each.
Is this including the parcels at the intersection of Route 100 and Horseshoe Trail?
Yes, it's every parcel for the service.
Be specific, which
Yeah.
property?
On the east side,
He said, yes.
north and south of Horseshoe Trail on the east side.
Right.
At Horseshoe Trail and 100 is their property that is not
On the west side.
on the southwest side.
Are you referring to parcels that are a part of the sale, or that are going to be covered by these covenants?
covered by the
No,
covenants.
it's not involved in the sale at all, I just want to make sure that.
Right, they're not involved, but they
But
they are gonna have these
so you're
covenants.
not talking about the farmland. The two parcels I'm talking about were designated as potential sewage parcels. So the larger parcel that could be, that's being farmed and could be parkland, for example, that one you're not talking about. Is that why you're specific about which corner?
Now I'm getting
I'm
confused.
confused,
I'm
I
talking.
do everything based on the UPI number.
See, you ought to take me on that road tour. Then you'll really
You're
get
gonna be really confused. The one on the west side, there's approximately a 25-acre parcel that has been talked about, possible spray irrigation use in the future. That is 25 acres on the west side of Route 100. That is not part of any sewer sale or any. of
Right,
what
and
he's
that's
doing.
the property that Parks and Rec walked a couple of years ago was the potential site for.
Whatever,
fields and
if you
stuff.
say so.
that's- Well, and it relates to the O&J Roberts land swap business. and
Whatever, it's
stuff.
not part of this discussion.
Okay, good, I'm gonna, so, the only two that have existing easements are B and C, and the others are township-owned land that you wanna put some kind of
Protection in
easement.
place.
And then there'll be further protections if there is a sale.
With respect to any trails or anything that's on there? Or, I mean, this in itself protects it from being used for anything other than sewer or open space. If you're trying to preserve existing trails, which we talked about at the last meeting, then that
Or
would be.
access, public access.
Right, that would be in a separate document.
Okay, last meeting Barbara mentioned the hounds, for
Right.
example. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay,
Does this mean that you can never put a Parks and Rec
you're
sale?
gonna have to speak up.
Oh, sorry. Does this mean that you can never put on these township-owned lands, that you can never put a picnic pavilion or
No.
other structures?
No, it's for sewer, open space, or township use. So if township wants to use it for a park and rec feature, they can do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
For the township used car lot.
That's what we're planning to do, a used car lot.
Police cars.
Then I'll call for a vote, all those in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Now we're to the part awarding a bid for the sale of police car that we.
I move to award the bid for the 2010 Crown Vic to Clark Stuber in the total amount of $1,300.
Second.
Just so people understand in the audience, this was posted on
Municipal
unit
bid.
bid, and we had a total of approximately 20 bids in a 15-day period, and the winning bid is who, Erica?
Yep, right at the top. To Mark Clark.
Clark and
Mark.
Tamar?
Mike just read it, right?
Okay. So any
Oh, we
questions?
don't remember as long, yeah.
And the amount is $1,300 for 2010 Crown Vic. Any comments from the audience? Brian?
How is that price versus Blue Book price for it?
I think it's a little low, a little low.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Good quick one, we're selling something.
See, there was a used car shop.
New business, amphibian migration. Is it that time of the year again?
Yes.
I don't quite think of this as new business, but as a continuation of a program we've been having for a while. I'm sorry, I think it's about 7 years we've been doing this. We've been protecting the migration of amphibians on Hollow Road.
As best they'll let you.
Yes, that's right. They're a little hard to manage. Would like to have permission to ask the police to close Hollow Road in, pretty much, not totally. We're not too stringent on this. On rainy nights when it's dark, the temperature is, over 36 degrees, so it's not freezing. And so we can protect the migration of the frogs and other amphibians.
Could I make a suggestion? Could you work with Erica and let her contact the chief so that she can also post it on the website when the road's going to be closed?
We could certainly do that.
Doesn't it happen pretty suddenly, or not?
The problem is that
Yeah.
it's harder to predict them than it is
Yeah.
people, by a long shot. Usually by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I've conferred with Kim White in North Coventry, who's more experienced on this and has a better migration. And we decide, okay, it's a good chance, or nah, it's not looking right. And then, so I then call Mike Swininger and say, we'd like to close the road at 7 o'clock. It's no use doing it any earlier because it's gotta be dark, because they don't want to, they're painting maidens and males.
Since the chief isn't here, what I'm asking you is to work with Erica and set it up with the chief. I guess that's a better explanation. And
Okay, that's,
And we've posted on Facebook, but you're asking that Harriet try to reach Tammy or Erica at the same time and say, put it up on the West Vincent page, right? Is that what you're saying?
is that what,
Oh, yeah, I think it's an interesting thing
But
for
it is-
people at Township to learn
But
about.
it is a last
because
minute
last
thing.
year-
We,
Yeah.
they
well,
never tell
yeah.
us ahead of time when the weather's gonna be right.
and sometimes we have a fair number, and sometimes I'm out there walking all by myself, and,
Be careful.
oh, our police
Yeah. They
put up the barricade, and if a homeowner wants to go home, of course, we let them go. And they hang out there near the barricade, and they, because after all, people who are doing this are putting themselves at some risk, but if they get a call, they go. And if I decide nothing's happening and I decide to go, I've got the phone number of whoever the policeman is and say, I'm closing up shop, so take down the barricades.
does the board have any objection?
I have a question. Rob, since we're talking about closing a public road by the police, do we need to vote on this? Do we need the sanction?
Yeah, you should at least authorize Erica to work with the
Erica,
police, yeah.
Police chief.
Okay. Mary, you had a question?
Yeah. The road is closed. The bridge is out. Who's using the road, other than the homeowners that live there? Do we need to do that this year?
Well,
Only
I'm
question.
just trying to, Harriet, tell her when it usually happens, February and March.
February and March.
Yeah,
And
it
we
might be,
hope
it might be open by
It may
then.
be open.
We're doing it now for them?
I'm an optimist.
It may be open, so what?
Give it a shot.
So, we need a motion to authorize Erica, working with Chief Wininger, to close the road for amphibian migration as needed.
So moved. Second.
Any questions from the audience? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if anyone wants to be on my list of people I email about, I think we're going to do it that night, see me after the meeting.
Thank you. Next is,
This is an EAC-sponsored project.
okay. Next is public comment on non-agenda items. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to end the meeting.
I'm coming back to this sort of thing, I just want to make a recommendation, if we
Sure.
could, in the RFP, can we require the bidders to allocate the purchase price to each asset, each of the 5 systems? So that we can get some idea of how they're valuing those individual systems.
Sorry, it went out, but.
So it's out to bid now, so they're evaluating everything, but I think.
We could ask, right?
Yeah, we'll just amend
it.
it. Yeah, just send out an amendment and ask them if that's something you guys would be agreeable to.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll try. Seriously, it would be nice information to have. Harry?
This This weekend, Green Valley's had a very interesting series of morning meeting talking about the value of open space. And I've got a copy of some of the information for people up here at the table.
I think that's my fourth copy.
Well, it's been, it's been updated.
Yeah, someday we'll have time.
Any other non-agenda items? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to end the meeting.
Motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.